I sometimes get comments like this and I don't always respond to them, but for some reason this one stood out to me a little bit and I thought I should respond to it with a video. I sometimes have people come on my videos and accuse me, or, you know, whatever word you want to use. They say something along the lines of like, my movements are influencing the dowsing rods. I just want to provide information and provide facts, okay? So dowsing rods are originally made for holding and walking outside to find water underground. That's like their original purpose. Holding these rods and walking is a lot of movement. And when you're outside, there's, you know, the air and you're walking on uneven ground. Like that amount of movement isn't enough to influence them to uniformly open and close until you find water, essentially. So when I'm using them, I'm sitting as still as I possibly can. I try to have my elbows either tucked into my side or resting on a table. I am going to give you a demonstration in just a second, but I just want to say a couple more things. When I am sitting as still as I possibly can, there might be a little tiny, you know, micro movement because, you know, we're all human. We can't be complete statues, but I try my absolute best to sit as still as I possibly can to avoid people having that skepticism of the rods being influenced by movement. But you absolutely can move and not influence them. So I just want to put that out there for people that, you know, have that skepticism. It makes sense to think that someone moving would influence another thing moving. Totally valid. Let me give you a demonstration. So just sitting here holding them, right? Like I try to hold as still as possible. And, you know, like I can move around a fairly decent amount. And, you know, obviously if you move a lot, they're going to move a lot, right? But when I am doing my videos, I try to either have my elbows tucked in to my sides or, you know, resting on a table, just sitting here talking and breathing. You know, you can move them up and down, stuff like that. And they're not moving to the point where it's like uniformly crossing or opening, like when you specifically ask questions. Just to kind of go over the structure of them again, the part that you actually hold on to is a tube. And so you're holding onto the tube. The part that moves is this long rod, and the rod goes down inside the tube and is hammered out on the bottom. So you're holding onto this. There's a little bead on the top that just sort of helps this part move without, you know, catching. It just kind of helps it move smoothly. You're holding the tube, so you're not touching the part that moves at all. If you're squeezing it, it's not affecting it. It's not going to affect how it moves. And I've said this before, if you are skeptical, that's totally cool, totally fine. I am not offended by people that are skeptical because I think it is healthy to be questioning things. But I also want to supply like the knowledge that I have for people that are skeptical. I also think that if you're skeptical, that you should try it out for yourself. And if you have the opportunity to hold them in your hands for yourself and actually, you know, ask a question and see what happens, you know, sit as still as you possibly can and just see what happens and see what it feels like. You know, when you can feel it for yourself and you know that you're not moving and you're not doing anything to influence them, it's a totally, totally different feeling. I'm not out here telling people that they have to believe me or, you know, that everything that I'm saying is absolute fact, right? I'm just out here sharing my experiences and I think it's really cool. And so that's why I want to share it with people. I get that it's a little bit strange. It's a little bit out there for some people, and that's totally fine. As somebody that believes in science and loves learning new things from science, I can totally understand wanting to, you know, have a scientific reason for why something like this is happening. Like, I really don't fault people for being super skeptical. If anyone has any other questions about how they work or would like me to demonstrate anything else in particular, go ahead and leave it in a comment and I will respond either with a comment or a video.